in the NBA's new broadcast package with ESPN, ABC, NBC, and newcomer Amazon Prime. It's a $76 billion deal over 11 years. Amazon is replacing TNT, which means the upcoming season will be the last for the iconic Inside the NBA studio show featuring Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, and Ernie Johnson. TNT put up $1.8 billion to match Amazon's offer, but the NBA rejected it, preferring to go with Amazon's 200 million subscribers in 23 countries. The NBA needs to rethink this. Inside the NBA is the best studio show in sports. Folks are not going to be happy to see the NBA walk away from them. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California. Home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for Black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Aviterus, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for Black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the Black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising at KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got you Black.
Live from historic Lyric Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, two conversations. Up first, professor and Baltimore City radio host Dr. K. Wise Whitehead on the upcoming Critical Race Theory Summer School presented by the African American Policy Forum. On the B side of hour two, James Fugate is back in the house with recommendations for your summer reading list. In our third hour, actor Jay Ellis, best known as Lawrence in the hit HBO series Insecure, joins us live in studio to talk about the groundbreaking TV series and his debut children's book. Did anyone else have an imaginary friend or just me? Jay Ellis of Insecure live in studio today in our third hour. But in this first hour, director of the Center for Urban Journalism at Morgan State University, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist and author of 54 Miles, a novel, Leonard Pitts Jr. joins us live in studio to talk about that and then some. Leonard grew up here on the West Coast, here in L.A., so he apparently knows his way around still just a bit after all these decades. He found his way to the studio today.
Yeah, it took some doing. Crenshaw is not what Crenshaw was when I was growing up here. I'll just put it like that. We didn't have train tracks down the middle of the street.
But those train tracks disrupted business around here for a lot of years.
Yeah.
So I'm glad the train finally got together. I am honored, again, to have Leonard Pitts Jr. on this program, and as one, again, who grew up in the city of L.A. We heard around the country in syndication. Grateful for that, but always pleased to have Leonard back home, as it were, in L.A. in our studio. So much to talk about today. Leonard and I had a spirited, I don't want to say debate. What word would you use?
A colloquy. Let's show that we went to school.
A colloquy. We had a spirited colloquy in the hallway about Kamala Harris. And not really about Kamala Harris, but about how we have a conversation in Black America about Kamala Harris without Negroes being called out, kicked to the curb, or being told by Joy Reid on MSNBC, you're weird or you're a weirdo if you don't vote for Kamala Harris. It feels 15 years later like the Obama moment all over again, Leonard, where people can't ask critical questions. They can't have a differing opinion, even if you come down at the end and vote for Kamala. I don't like this feeling of shutting down critical conversation. That's just me. Leonard pushed back on me when I said that. We will reprise and expand this conversation for radio in a moment. Stand by for that. But first, the big speech last night by President Joe Biden explaining to the nation why he decided to stand down and to endorse his Vice President, Kamala Harris, for President of these United States. I'm going to play a few clips of President Biden last night. All right, Miles, give me the first one.
When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country, is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause cherish it so much. A cause of American democracy itself. Must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition.
All right, Leonard, give me your take on that part of the speech.
It's funny. As I was listening to the speech, I heard Biden sort of mushmouth a couple of words. I believe cherish might have been one of them, if I recall correctly. And it just brought to mind this sort of difficulty in really talking about Biden and any decline, because the thing that people tend to forget is that he has never been a great speaker. You know, part of that, I think, is the fact that he's had a childhood stutter that he worked hard to overcome, and part of it, I guess, is just in his DNA. I don't think he's not Barack Obama, he's not John Kennedy, he's not that type of speaker. But I think what did come through, transcending all of that, was just the poignancy of the moment. There was a lot of power and grace in that moment. I felt for the man in a way that I've seldom felt for any politician, whether I agreed with him or not.
I was saying to Lynn before we walked in the studio that when I saw President Biden last night, for the first time I felt a little bit differently post his announcement about standing down than pre. I saw it last night so clearly.
Right.
He had a lot of his words were majestic last night.
Right.
They were majestic. His delivery just couldn't quite get there because again, he's never been a great speaker, to your point. But again, we all do that dance with mortality at some point, right?
Yeah.
And you could see that coming through. At least I could last night in that presentation. I think all the energy of the past few days about Kamala Harris, who we'll get back to a little bit later, made me see him in a different light. All right, Miles, give me some more from President Biden last night.
So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. But there's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. In the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose.
He's getting into the issues that matter most to him and what he intends to do for the remainder of his term. Just getting started in this hour with our guest, Pulitzer Prize-winning author, columnist Leonard Pitts Jr. will unpack what Biden said just now and play a little bit more of President Biden as we move through this conversation. I'm glad you're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hey guys, do you want male performance in the bedroom and do you want it now? Get it in 47 seconds or less. For the first time, you can have instant male enhancement. Introducing Nox 47, the topical male enhancement that works in 47 seconds or less. Satisfaction guaranteed. Finally, after years of scientific research, our proprietary formula will allow you to perform in the bedroom like never before. Just imagine that little blue pill on steroids. No reason to settle and wait when you can get instant performance now. Forget about pills and potions that make you wait hours or up to 30 days to work. That's yesterday's news. Nox 47 is brand new. The hottest thing for men. And you don't need a prescription. Call now and get your free supply for a limited time.
To find out how to get Nox 47 for free, call now. 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621. Free bottles for limited time. Call 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Pulitzer Prize winner Leonard Pitts Jr., who joins us live in studio. Leonard, we just played that clip from President Biden, and you said to me that you heard some echoes of Abraham Lincoln in that?
Yeah, there's a part, he says that it's up to the American people. It's not up to me, it's up to you. And that reminded me of Lincoln's first inaugural when he was pleading with the South not to do what the South ultimately did, which is to break the Union apart. Lincoln said words to the effect of, "In your hands and not mine." You know, it's up to you, in other words. In your hands and not mine is the momentous question of peace or war. And I don't know if that echo, we were talking about this off mic, I don't know if that echo was intentional or not, but for me at least, it was very powerful. Yeah. Especially given that, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of people have concurred in this, the issues and the moment that we face, the moment that we're rising to meet in November is no less dangerous than the one that Lincoln was referring to in 1861.
You heard Lincoln and I heard Clinton. Clinton famously said a couple of decades ago, as you recall, "This is not about me, it's about you." Right. He used that refrain over and over and over again. Right. This is not about me, it's about you, and every election is about the future, never about the past. Right. And so you heard echoes of Lincoln, I heard echoes of Clinton. He delivered it as best he could, but his words, I think, again, were powerful and moving last night. Let me just ask you before I play this last clip, as he was talking a moment ago about the issues that matter to him and what he intends to do in his remaining 6 months or so in office, is Joe Biden all of a sudden a lame duck?
Probably. Probably. I think that's true of any president who is going into the last, whether it's at the end of the second term or the first term. I think any president is going into the last days of his presidency faces that danger, especially with the great hostility and polarization that now exists in Congress. It's amazing to me that he's gotten done, some of the things he's gotten done, but in his last 6 months, it's hard to imagine him doing major things. Although Joe Biden has surprised me before.
Yeah, it's gonna be a weird time in the White House. This is obviously not this ain't the first time this has ever happened. Obviously, happened many times. But there's something interesting about when your vice president is now running for president and getting all the attention while you're still the president inside the White House.
Right.
The attention will start to shift from him onto her, already has. He still has the bully pulpit. He is still the president. She will be always respectful of that, but it's a weird sort of dance when the attention's on the number 2 and not the number 1.
It's got to be hard on the ego, especially keeping in mind that nobody gets into politics who does not have, especially at the presidential level, who does not have a massive ego.
Oh, yeah.
It takes some ego to say, I think I'm the one. I'm the one to run this country. You think about that for a minute. Just put yourself forward for that. You can be. I'm not saying you're not a good person, wonderful person, but it takes a certain amount of high self-regard to be able to say that. So,
I was talking earlier about that dance with mortality that we all have to do. This is another dance they're going to have to do without stepping on each other's toes in the White House. I digress on that for now. All right, Miles, one more piece of sound from President Joe Biden last night.
The American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands. The great thing about America is here. Kings and dictators do not rule. The people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. We just have to keep faith, keep the faith. And remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And there's simply nothing beyond our capacity.
There are a few things in that clip, Leonard Pitts Jr., that jump out at me. In no particular order. I loved how he's talking about Ben Franklin, but he pivots to make sure he weaves in, just so you hear it, alongside the bust of
Cesar Chavez,
MLK, Rosa Parks, Cesar Chavez. He wanted to make sure he got that, and I ain't mad at him. But for his constituency, let me be clear. I'm talking about Ben Franklin, but don't forget, Rosa's up in here, Martin's up in here, Cesar Chavez is up in here. I thought that was fascinating, that one little detour.
Yeah, the thing that jumped out at me, and I'm not sure I'd ever heard this, noted this before, as many times as I've heard the Franklin quote, in your hands, the question of whether or not we have a republic is up to you.
Yeah.
So in other words, because you would think that you think that he would say we have a republic if we can keep it, but he's actually speaking to the future.
That's right.
Which I don't think I'd never heard that speech quite that way. I heard that quote a million times.
Yeah.
But that whole thing of he wasn't just speaking to 1776, he was speaking to 2024.
Well, that is the penultimate question. We have a republic if we can keep it, which begs the obvious. To your mind, can we keep it?
I think that, and I've been saying this since 2015, that the chance it's a dicey proposition. In 2015, I think I said that it was a 50-50 proposition, and I think that it's no less than that. I think America is in greater peril, or is in as the greatest peril since 1861, since the Civil War. I've been saying that for years, and it's interesting to me because when I first said it, it was me and blanking on my brother's name at the New York Times, Charles Blow. We were like the only people that were saying this, and now all of a sudden there's more. You see more and more people saying that we are in real danger here. We are in real difficulty here. And so the election, if we don't get the election of 2024 right, we may not have an election in 2028.
There are at least a couple of ways, to my mind, Leonard Pitts Jr., to read the accolade and the adulation, all the honor that is now being bestowed upon Joe Biden. At least two different ways to read it. Clearly, there are more. And because he's Leonard Pitts Jr., he'll probably have 4, 5, 6 different ways to read it. But let me share the two that come to mind for me right quick. On the one hand, we might be overdoing it a bit. Just because Joe Biden made the right decision for many to stand down, now he's being compared to Washington. Now he's the greatest leader ever since FDR. Now, you take my point. We're laying it on so thick, and I'm not suggesting Joe Biden didn't get a lot done in the first term. I've said repeatedly on this program, to be clear, he has not gotten enough respect, I don't believe, for what he did get accomplished in the first term. But we're laying it on a little too thick here on the one hand. The flip side of that is, which speaks, I think, to a level of disingenuousness, the same folk that pushed him off the stage are now the ones saying how great he is and what a great decision he made. It's as if these elites walked up on the stage, pushed the old man down, knocked him off the stage. He's on the ground, and then they say, "Thank you, President Biden, for making such a principled decision to leave the stage." I mean, you can't have it both ways, Leonard.
Well, actually, I think you can. But let me get back to you. Let me get to your first point.
Give it to me.
I think that context is everything. I think we'll agree that Biden did a selfless thing. But what you have to ask yourself is, okay, when is the last time you saw a politician, particularly at that level, do a selfless thing?
But is it selfless? That's my point. Is it selfless if you get pushed? He didn't jump. He got pushed.
It's selfless. He had help, obviously.
A lot of help.
He had a lot of help. But among the things that were helping him were and as I understand it, the thing that was actually the decision maker for him was not age, but the polling. And if the polling shows that you have lost support, if the polling shows that you have no path to victory in these key states, then it's not just Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and George Clooney who are pushing you off,
and Barack Obama.
It's reality.
Yeah.
It's a painful reality. From what I understand from the reporters, what made the decision for him was when his longtime pollster Donlin came to him and showed him the data, which said you don't have a path to victory here. And then it becomes the question of, do I hold on and out of self-regard and self-ego, or do I give my party a chance to save this country?
Yeah, I hear your point, and maybe you're right. We can't have it both ways, but it just strikes me as interesting, again, that the folk who push him off the stage are the ones who are now applauding him for being this great leader, the greatest leader ever since FDR, how selfless he was. Stop it, spare me. Y'all push the old man off the stage. Stop it.
The analogy you use is pushing the old man off the stage. The one that I use, and it seems especially poignant to me as I advance in years, is taking the keys from Grandpa.
Yeah. I hear that.
And there comes a point at which Grandpa still thinks Grandpa is roadworthy, and everybody knows Grandpa isn't. And that's a painful discussion for a family to have.
So let's take a stab at something that we know not of, because neither you or I have a crystal ball. We don't know what the historians will say down the road. But what does your gut tell you, Leonard Pitts Jr.? You're a Pulitzer Prize winner. You're pretty good at this. What's your gut tell you about how, given what we saw last night, Joe Biden will, in fact, be regarded in history?
My gut is pretty happy at this point, which it seldom is. My gut and I hardly recognize each other at this point. But I do think the selflessness of the act is going to resonate.
Right.
I do think the selflessness, especially if Kamala Harris goes on to the presidency, I think the selflessness of the act is going to resonate down through history.
I think it resonates more, God forbid. But again, we all have to do that dance with mortality. I only know one person, as I said the other day, who went down and came back on the third day. Everybody else goes down and stays down, right? So we all have to go that way. We ain't getting out of here alive. I think, to your point, if Kamala pulls this off, history regards him one way. If Kamala loses, or wins for that matter, and he announces in the next year that he has Parkinson's or dies in the next year or so, there's a different read of that. That he should have stood down earlier, particularly if she loses.
Yeah.
Because he was already in the throes of it,
Right.
and just didn't want to tell us. And as you know, this ain't the first time that a president or his team would have lied to us or hid stuff from us. So I think some of this also depends on how much longer he lives and what condition we may learn later that he has right now that they don't want to tell us about.
Yeah, it's interesting when you get into the discussion about presidents and illnesses and illnesses that are hidden from people. Abraham Lincoln had such depression that his friends kept the knives away from him at certain points in his life because he was suicidal. Obviously there's JFK with the Addison's disease and on and on. And
FDR in the wheelchair.
Yeah, FDR in the wheelchair. And I asked myself, okay, would we have been better without Lincoln? I mean, Lincoln would not have been elected today because, he's got depression, he's got this or that and the other, but he's universally considered, the greatest American president. So, I think it's possible. I understand the issue that, the public has a right to know about the health of the person that they're going to choose to lead them, but I think it's possible to overplay that given what we've seen in our history of who some of our sickest presidents have been and what they've done.
Yeah. Your comment makes me think of Dr. King, who I wrote a book about, of course. And King was no president. I think he's higher than a president. To me, he's a prophet. And this audience knows I regard him as the greatest American this country's ever produced. That's my own assessment. But there was a point in King's life, particularly in the last few years, where, to your point, Leonard, he was so depressed. I tell the story in my book, Death of a King, of one day he's in a hotel room. He gets up in the morning, gets fully dressed, walks to the door. He's got his suit, overcoat, got his hat on. Back in the day, his fedora. And that depression, that mania hit him so hard he couldn't get out the door.
Really?
He goes back into the room, fully clothed, lays on the bed, and cries and cries and cries.
Wow.
Till he cries himself to sleep. And the folk in King's inner circle who loved him and knew him so well, of course, wanted to get him help. They knew he was battling depression. And yet they also knew that if Hoover, J. Edgar Hoover, found out about his depression battles, they would destroy Martin with that storyline, with that narrative. And so they talked about getting Martin some help to talk to a therapist. And the ultimate decision was to not do that. Because they knew, again, how that information in Hoover's hands would be used against Dr. King. So to your point about Lincoln, he ain't the only one. And that's a lot of pressure to deal with. And so Martin is it has to rely on talking to Jesus, and taking his concerns to the throne, his issues to the throne. He couldn't talk to anybody else. He couldn't talk to a professional because they knew what that would do to him.
And on the last night, preached himself happy.
Absolutely.
I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days
That's
ahead,
it.
but
That's
it doesn't really matter to me now.
No.
I've been to the mountaintop.
Sometimes you got to preach yourself through it. I don't mean to proselytize, but for those who know the word, David says sometimes you got to encourage yourself in the Lord. You got to encourage yourself sometimes. And Martin literally had to preach himself through that process. So there you have it. Our thoughts, at least in the time that we had, about President Biden's speech last night. Now the other side of this coin. President Biden, as he said last night, has passed the torch to a new generation, that generation represented by Kamala Harris. And Leonard and I will now get into a more spirited dialogue about his views and my views about how we have, to the extent we can have, in Black America, a conversation about Kamala Harris, ask critical questions, have our say, without folk dogging you or demonizing you or telling you you're weird or strange or something's wrong with you, because you ask critical questions about somebody that you're considering voting for. That's the subject when we come forward. Say nothing of his book. It's called 54 Miles, a novel. We'll talk about that. So pleased to have the Pulitzer Prize winner, Leonard Pitts Jr., in studio right now here on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, Minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. House Speaker Mike Johnson has some harsh words for pro-Palestinian demonstrators who burned an American flag during yesterday's protest in Washington, D.C. The Louisiana Republican said the protesters who sprayed graffiti on monuments and took down flags should face criminal charges. Johnson also mentioned a group of House Republicans later put up flags where the original flags had been taken down. We're now learning that new technology aimed at flagging guns at New York City subway entrances is expected to be set up as early as today. African-American Mayor Eric Adams says the pilot program involves metal detectors where subway riders pass through without stopping or waiting in line. He's hoping this will help make the subway system even safer. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Spectacular savings are happening now at Mattress Firm's July 4th sale. You can get a Sleepy's Queen mattress for just $89.99, the lowest price ever. Upgrade, save, and celebrate before it's too late. Offer ends Tuesday. In-store only while supplies last. Restrictions apply.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
This is a very sad day for NBA fans who watch NBA games on TNT. For the past 35 years, TNT has been one of the NBA's broadcast partners. Barring legal action, the relationship will end after next season. TNT is not included in the NBA's new broadcast package with ESPN, ABC, NBC, and newcomer Amazon Prime. It's a $76 billion deal over 11 years. Amazon is replacing TNT, which means the upcoming season will be the last for the iconic Inside the NBA studio show featuring Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, and Ernie Johnson. TNT put up $1.8 billion to match Amazon's offer, but the NBA rejected it, preferring to go with Amazon's 200 million subscribers in 23 countries. The NBA needs to rethink this. Inside the NBA is the best studio show in sports. Folks are not going to be happy to see the NBA walk away from them. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. We're not just a thermometer recording and broadcasting popular opinion. We aim to be a thermostat, transforming the conversation about climate justice in our community. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
What's up? I'm Miles.
Hey, and I'm Jara.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Maple Pepper Bacon Sandwich is how the flavors come together. First, I taste the smoky grilled chicken, then the pepper bacon with that maple bun, added with the sweet heat and the pickles.
I'm really sold on the pickle. It meets you in the middle with the sweetness and the heat.
It's spice-tastic.
Yum-licious.
Flavoristic.
The sandwich of the summer. The Maple Pepper Bacon Sandwich.
Order the Maple Pepper Bacon Sandwich on the Chick-fil-A app today. Available for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dominique DePrima, host of the show First Things First, weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. Join us tomorrow with Baltimore reparationist Davon Love, plus headlines and your phone calls. Our comprehensive reparations conversations, Freedman Fridays, are only on KBLA Talk 1580.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PATH to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PATH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PATH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
This is Tavis Smiley, and Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist Leonard Pitts Jr., author of the new book, the new novel, 54 Miles. We'll unpack that in just a second, and we'll get to Kamala Harris in just a second. So President Biden wasn't the only big speech in Washington yesterday. He spoke last night to the nation, but during the day before the president had his turn, a prime minister was in town, Bibi Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, spoke to Congress yesterday. A lot of high-profile Democrats boycotted that speech. Nancy Pelosi, James Clyburn, the list goes on and on and on. A whole lot of senators and Congress members boycotted that speech yesterday. Dick Durbin, don't have the list in front of me now, but there was a long list of them. The squad, everybody. Not everybody, but a whole lot of them boycotted yesterday. But it didn't stop Netanyahu from going in, and going in he did. Take a listen.
We recently learned from the National Security Director, U.S. Director of National Intelligence, that Iran is funding and promoting anti-Israel protests in America. They want to disrupt America. So these protesters burn American flags even on the 4th of July. And I wish to salute the fraternity brothers at the University of North Carolina who protected the American flag against these anti-Israel protesters. For all we know, Iran is funding the anti-Israel protests that are going on right now outside this building. Not that many, but they're there, and throughout the city. Well, I have a message for these protesters. When the tyrants of Tehran, who hang gays from cranes and murder women for not covering their hair, are praising, promoting, and funding you, you have officially become Iran's useful idiots.
So Leonard Pitts Jr., that's just a little taste. He went harder than that. But what say you about Bibi Netanyahu yesterday?
Well, briefly, I'd say that it's interesting, but it's rather cynical to sort of use this this pandering to American, patriotism, and you've got a room full based on who boycotted, then we know who was there, which is pretty much largely the Republican right. So you pander to that sort of knee-jerk reflex patriotism, and it's useful in that it allows you to deflect, or not even to have to address, I suppose, questions about why are you bombing children? Nobody a fan of Hamas. We all understand Hamas to be a gang of homicidal thugs. Understood. Why are you bombing children?
Not a whole lot needs to be said beyond that. You heard BB in his own words.
Yeah.
To Leonard's point, as long as you are in that frame, you ain't got to address genocide.
Right.
You ain't got to address killing innocent women and children. It was a bit much, and that's putting it mildly.
Right.
We will leave it there, but just want to give you a taste of what Bibi had to say yesterday before Biden had his say last evening. I think we can agree we liked one speech better than the other.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer. Yeah.
I think Biden wins over Bibi yesterday, but I digress. Again, now to Kamala Harris, who President Biden has passed the torch to. We don't have enough time to get into this as spirit in as deep a way as I would like, but I've got days in front of me, and maybe you'll come back on again between now and November. And I want to get to your book here and your book appearance. For those who are in Southern California, he is appearing tonight for a book signing here in L.A. We'll tell you about that in just a second here. But we were talking before we came in studio about 40 minutes ago to commence today's show about Kamala Harris and about the ways in which I'm getting concerned and frankly disturbed because it feels so much to me like 15 years ago. And I thought as black folk we had learned and would do better the next time around. There's something about us that I'm seeing again now that wants to foreclose any conversation about qualifications, about resume, about issues that we might have, even if we support Kamala Harris, ultimately. To your point, nobody likes Hamas and nobody wants Donald Trump. We get the existential threat argument.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that we should shut down conversation, shut down debate, shut down queries, shut down pushes and presses about the person that wants to be president because we're all black. And if you ask or raise any critical questions, then according to Joy Reid and others, you're acting weird. You're a weirdo. I don't like it, Leonard Pitts. I don't like it.
Well, I don't. Let me fine tune what I said a little bit. I don't agree with Joy Reid that you are a weirdo if you're asking questions about Kamala Harris. I do have serious questions, and I don't pull folks' black card very often, but I do have serious questions about your black card if you're voting for Donald Trump, which is two completely
very different things.
Sure, you know, I will grant you that, but I think that we with that understood, the thing that you have to keep in mind, Tavis, is that we don't do nuance very well, in this country. We don't do it very well, especially now in the face of, as we keep saying, an existential threat. So, the idea of doing nuance, I get it theoretically. It's a wonderful thing. Let's have this nuanced discussion. But right now we bailing water from the lifeboat.
Not naive in asking this, but how is it and why is it that black folk can run against black folk from California to the Carolinas for all kinds of offices? But when we get to the president, again, no naivete here, all of a sudden we can't even debate as we would in any other race.
Well, we could debate if it was, say, Tim Scott running against Kamala Harris. Then you would have a very spirited debate on all of the different sides and contexts of blackness. But that's not what we have. We have Kamala Harris, who is basically out there on her own. And, the one thing about black folk, for good and for ill, in history, is that we always come to the defense of our own. We circle the wagons around our own, no matter who. I'll tell you a brief story. Back in the early 90s, I wrote a column for the Miami Herald that got me in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble.
You wrote a few that got you in trouble.
No, I got a column I wrote a column that got me in trouble inside the building.
Okay.
People are looking at me funny inside the building.
Give it to me.
And I had this person call me. I don't remember the name, but he represented some African American group. Now, to this point, I've been in Miami a year or two. I don't even know that I've got African American readers because nobody shows up at my events. But he tells me, "Look, we've heard that you're about to be fired." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that. Would you like us to come and picket the building?" Now, I don't know how true his information was, but what struck me was that this black man I've never met, and these black people I've never met, are ready to come and take signs and circle the building on my little old behalf. And that touched me because it said to me something about how my people roll. We protect one another. We defend one another. And that's it's for good and for ill because when you got a guy like the former mayor of Detroit. And people playing the blackness card for him, as he's ripping the city off and robbing people blind. Okay, then I got some issues with that.
Sure,
but just the reflex itself, it makes me proud to be who and what I am.
No,
You know?
I hear that story, and I've got some similar stories in my past where black folk on more than one occasion have come to my defense, and it feels good.
So that's what's happening with Kamala.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
But I think very simply and very quickly here that anyone who aspires to be the head of the American empire must be asked some critical questions. You cannot be black, as far as I'm concerned, and not have a critique of anybody who aspires to be head of the empire. You just can't be black and not have a critique.
Not just black, as a voting age American, you should have some questions about anybody who aspires to be head of the country.
But given the way that black people have been put upon in this country, the person heading the empire is not always going to be pushing an agenda that is not antithetical. I mean, at times, I should say, will be pushing an agenda or endorsing an agenda that you already know is antithetical to your best interest. You already know that.
You're talking about the black head of the
any head of the empire. If you run the American empire. Given the way things are structured, they will be in support at some point of an agenda or an issue that is, in fact, antithetical to your best interest. So you got to have a critique.
Yeah, I'm reminded of the conversation again that we had before we came in here to the studio about this whole idea of oh Lord, I'm blanking on it. I'm having a moment here of blackness of are you black enough? Race? Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Of race,
Yeah.
And is this a racist country?
Sure.
And why can't black politicians say that?
Yeah.
And the thing that I mentioned to you was that no politician can say that, but a black politician can't say it specifically because they are on probation. They're on it.
Maybe I don't want to vote for you. Maybe I don't want to vote for you if you as a black person will tell the nation America's not a racist country.
Well, guess what?
You're lying.
Guess what?
And if you're a liar, why should I vote for you,
Guess
Leonard?
what? Ain't nobody gonna vote for them. They say if they tell that truth, you won't be the only one who doesn't vote for them. That's the whole problem.
To be continued when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Just a few short months ago, California Attorney General Rob Bonta filed 11 felony charges against Diana Turan, an assistant district attorney for Los Angeles County. The charges allege that Turan unlawfully accessed confidential computer data, including police officer files in 2018, and continued to use them after joining the DA's office in 2021. Ironically, Turan, who is now on administrative leave, oversaw the Public Integrity Division, responsible for handling high-profile cases of police misconduct and public corruption, including the charges brought against LA City Council member Karen Price last June. To be sure, the case against Price has raised plenty of eyebrows. Indeed, one noted legal scholar has said publicly, and I quote, "Everything about this prosecution reeks," close quote. Could A.G. Bonta, with aspirations to become California governor, be punishing Turan for her role in D.A. George Gascon's police accountability agenda to curry favor with police unions? Could D.A. Gascon be using the case against Price to showcase his tough stance on crime and political corruption as he vies to retain his seat as DA? Honestly, I have no idea, but here's what I know for sure. Karen Price has been elected and re-elected by thousands of voters, mostly black and brown, who stand to be further disenfranchised if this matter is not handled correctly, which is why it matters to us at KBLA Talk 1580. When the prosecutor is being prosecuted, it seems to me that at the very least, there ought to be a thorough, top-to-bottom, independent review of all cases under Diana Taran's purview to ensure that none of these cases have been tainted. Justice and fundamental fairness demand no less if public trust truly matters. And I hope it does. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Tavis Smiley. We welcome your feedback.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Yeah. Leonard Pitts Jr. and we ain't got enough time to delve as deeply into that conversation. We'll talk about it in the days to come. My point is that we're not a monolith, and we say that all the time. Everybody says black folk are not a monolith, but if you don't have a particular opinion, immediately, then you get cussed out. You get called names.
Yeah, I feel that.
I don't like that.
I feel that.
I don't like that.
And I think under normal circumstances, I'm more flexible about that. My problem is that the circumstances we are with now.
I receive that.
Kamala Harris or end of days.
I receive it. Tell me about 54 Miles, a novel.
54 Miles is a novel that I'm premiering tonight at Book Soup, 8818 Sunset Boulevard in beautiful West Hollywood. It's a book about this family, this black woman and her brother, who witnessed when they were very young the murder of their parents, a spectacle lynching out front of their house. She was 3, he was 9. She can't quite remember it. He can't quite forget it. And so we're dealing with their family trauma and family secrets coming to light. In the back with the voting rights campaign in the backdrop. One of the openings, the scenes that I'll be reading tonight, sort of sets the stage for one character, Luther, the brother, his story. Luther again saw this lynching that has really just altered his life. He became an alcoholic, although he has overcome this, but he has never overcome a raging anger at white folk in America. And that fact notwithstanding, he's got a good white friend, older man whose hair he goes to do at the old folks home. Older man has what we would now recognize as Alzheimer's disease, and he goes to see this older man. And while he's at the old folks home, he goes and recognizes the man who led the lynch mob that killed his parents. The man who was never punished, the man who the court set free, and now he's this 80-some man who's suffering with his own disintegration and the aftermath of a stroke. And the question is, what does Luther do?
That's a deep question.
What does justice require? What does justice look like?
More about this new novel, 54 Miles, written by our guest, Leonard Pitts Jr., when we come forward. He's here in L.A. tonight. If you're in Southern California, at Book Soup up in West Hollywood, 8818 Sunset Boulevard. More of the Leonard when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom. If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chucha's opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chucha's Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Lunar Pitcher Jr., who's in L.A. tonight at Book Soup, if you are in Southern California. That's at 7 o'clock tonight. Book Soup up on Sunset Boulevard. We all know where it is. I've known you for it seems like decades now, and followed your work before I ever had the honor of getting to know you and calling you a friend. But I've always known you to do your work, to do your trade in the nonfiction realm, hence your Pulitzer Prize. Why fiction?
Well, the thing about the difference between writing fiction and nonfiction is that when you're writing nonfiction, you're trading in the facts. But fiction is about trying to get at the truth. And the truth and the facts, they're related, but they aren't always the same thing. And for me, fiction is I like the idea of being able to create a world and then setting it up and then being able to go and play in that world in hopes of finding some universal and incontrovertible truths, particularly about our passages and our situation as African-American people.
It's a novel, so we can't give too much away. But how do you walk this line, as it were, of forgiveness versus accountability? I mean, Luther's got a serious decision to make, and I haven't had a chance to read it myself yet. I'm anxious to get to it this weekend. But I hear forgiveness, potentially, but also hear accountability.
Well, the thing that people fail to understand is that the one does not preclude the other. And I think one of the problems for me in this country is that people have grown used to, it's almost a cliche now, African Americans forgiving. When one of our own is shot down, who's unarmed.
Before they even ask.
Yeah, exactly. There's this forgiveness. And I appreciate it, because that shows that we're people of faith by and large. By and large. So that shows that we're trying to live the faith. So I have no problem with that. But the thing is that, as I said, forgiveness does not preclude accountability. You got, if I do something to you and you forgive me, that's one thing. But if I don't pay for it, then that's an insult on your humanity. That says that what happened to you was not anything. And I think as African American folk, we need to get we need to value, at least as much as we value forgiveness, we need to value and prize accountability.
What passage do you expect to read tonight?
I'm going to read a passage from the second chapter, which is the chapter where Luther, as I spoke about a minute ago, Luther goes to the old folks' home and discovers the man who murdered his folks.
The book is called 54 Miles, a novel, written by the Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist, now retired from that, Leonard Pitts Jr. Did I mention Morgan State earlier?
I think you might have. Tell
me about that right quick.
I am the director of the Center for Global Journalism and Communication. So basically, we do sort of extracurricular projects, with the students. We're going to be we're working on this. Is way early. I probably shouldn't even tell you this, but we're working on looking at doing an oral history on the collapse of the Key Bridge.
Oh yeah.
So I do that kind of stuff with our students.
Well, it's great. They are blessed. I raise that because they're blessed to have access to you at Morgan State. That's a big deal.
Thank you, sir.
For these HBCUs to have all this great access to these iconic black journalists, and in his case, journalists, authors, etc. So, hooray for Morgan State having access to Leonard Pitts Jr. Again, the novel is called 54 Miles. If you're in Southern California tonight, 7 p.m. at Book Soup up on Sunset in West Hollywood. You know where it is. Leonard, we got to continue this conversation between now and November, so come back when you can.
You know where to find me.
Thank you, sir. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. House Speaker Mike Johnson has some harsh words for pro-Palestinian demonstrators who burned an American flag during yesterday's protest